Let's look at what their record is. They're 2-4. Last year, they won every single one-score game. This year, they've lost almost every single one-score game. But here's what's weird about the Vikings. They're around in every game. Now, they're the kings of trash time, and that's kind of who Kirk Cousins is. He's pads his stats. You look at Kirk Cousins' fourth quarter stats, whenever he's down multiple scores, he's elite. But he's always got to get them down multiple scores. They lost to Tampa 20-17. They lost to the Eagles 34-28. And the Eagles gave them that game, but the Vikings are just allergic to winning. Lost against the Chargers 28-24. Won against the Panthers barely 21-13. Lost to the Chiefs 27-20. That was a blowout game and trash time again. And they barely beat the Bears 19-13. So you look at their two wins, Bears and Panthers. Those literally are the two worst teams in the NFL whenever you look at whether it's draft or like if the draft was today, that's the number 1 and number 2 picks. Bears have them both, but they've only beat the worst two teams in the NFL. Now, to flip that on its head, they played with every team and they've never lost by more than one touchdown. The spread this week, 6.5 points. And I'm not betting it. I'm betting other things, and I do think the Niners will win, and we'll get into our predictions later. But the trash time is key for Kirk Cousins, and I think the Niners will be up several scores at one point during this game, but I don't think that's how it's going to end. Now, if we just look at points scored and points allowed, boil it down to the basics of what football is, right? They're 14th in points scored, 21.5 points per game, 23rd in points allowed, 22.5. But now Justin Jefferson's out. Justin Jefferson missed one game. They scored 19 points against the worst defense, the Bears, in the NFL. It just was not good. And so I think that kind of encompasses who this team is, the Vikings. Bro Montana, what's up, brother? Thanks for the super chat. He says, came from a Vikes family. My bro and I grew up with Steve Young while growing up in Beaverton, Oregon. Ooh, I like it. That is awesome, man. Steve Young. It's funny because, I'm a big skier. So anytime I meet people from like Colorado or Utah mainly whenever I go up there to go skiing, a lot of Niners fans because of Steve Young and kind of what he brought, which I really, really like. I mean, Steve Young was just awesome. He was great. Now, the 49ers, 5-1. We know what they've done. Second in points scored, 30.7 points per game average. Second in points allowed, 14.5 points per game. And you win 5 in a row, then you lost on the road. Ugly weather, rain, wind, refs, injuries, all those things. And I really feel like it's easy to prep for games. The Niners aren't going to take anybody lightly, especially on primetime Monday Night Football, especially with Kirk Cousins and your coach has flirted with him for so long. So if you're on the offense and you like Brock Purdy, you want to do well this game. If you're on the defense and you like Brock Purdy, you want to do well this game. And if you are a contract player, you want to do incredibly well this game, because if you're Brandon Ayuk or if you're Jennings, who's got one more year, or whomever, if you want to come back and get paid by the Niners, your chances of doing that will drop considerably if the Niners go out and get Kirk Cousins, which I don't think that they will. Again, I don't even think it's a possibility anymore. But this is just one more way to solidify a cheap rookie deal for Brock, which lets players get paid more. And so you've got to go out there and do that. Now, the Vikings are a bad team, and they're kind of tanking with class. Didn't really sign anybody, didn't really go out and try to make their team or roster competitive. They're offloading a lot of deals, all those things, but still a decent football team. You look at their PFF ranks, overall, they're the 9th team from Pro Football Focus. Offense is 5th, defense is 16th, special teams 22nd. Now, 49ers in contrast, 2nd overall, 3rd offense, 1st defense, 26th special teams. We dropped big time. Special teams was trash last week. I'm going to have that film up here in a little bit on the 49ersrush.com and our Patreon channel, but special teams was awful. It was terrible. So you dropped considerably. And it's not just Jake Moody. Yeah, it was Moody, but everybody not named Mitch Wisnowski was bad, really, really bad. And that cost us. You can lose. Offense lost. Defense won. Special teams lost. You lose 2 out of 3 phases of the game, and that's how you lose games. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Now, let's get to know. Let's do a deep dive on the top personnel for the decision makers for the Vikings. Head coach OC DC. Kevin O'Connell's the head coach. Interesting guy from Carlsbad, California. I went to San Diego State. We got a lot of San Diego State guys on our roster. We got a lot of San Diego players on our roster. He was a 3rd-round pick out of San Diego State. Played for the Patriots, Lions, Jets, Dolphins, Jets again, Chargers. Kind of bounced around considerably as a quarterback. Then, my favorite thing about Kevin O'Connell, he's never coached with Kyle Shanahan. He's followed him or been before him everywhere he's gone. And he falls into the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree because he's a McVay disciple. So his first job was quarterbacks coach for the Cleveland Browns in 2015, right after Kyle left. Then he was with the 49ers in 2016, the year before Kyle arrived. He was a special projects guy, basically offensive assistant, whatever you want to call it. They come out with cool titles, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But, after Kyle in Cleveland, before Kyle for San Francisco, then he went to Washington after Kyle, and that's where he hitched his wagon to Sean McVay. Sean McVay was the OC, and O'Connell was the quarterbacks coach. Then he got promoted to passing game coordinator. Then he got promoted to offensive coordinator when McVay left. He took over as Washington OC. Then he joined McVay as OC there, was with them on their Super Bowl run in 2021. Then he joined the Vikings 2022 as the head coach. So never been with Shanahan, been around Shanahan before and after Shanahan. He's a McVay guy. And that's kind of who he is. Now, if we look at his head coaching record, he's 15-8. They were awesome last year, but fraudulent. Got exposed by the Giants in the playoffs and just got freaking boat raced. Terrible. 0-1 in the postseason. Not good. Not great at all. Now, their OC, Wes Phillips. And I thought that this guy was interesting because he went to school in Williamsville, which is, New York. Then he went to college at UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso. And I don't know a lot of people that go from New York to UTEP. And then he played with the San Diego Riptide. Look at that. That is awesome. Went back to UTEP as a student assistant, then West Texas A&M quarterbacks coach back in 2004, then Baylor. Then he was with the Dallas Cowboys as a quality control guy, 2007 to 2010. Got promoted to assistant offensive line coach, then tight end coach. You know how much I respect tight end coaches. Hardest position to coach offensively. You got to know it all. Then he joined the Washington Redskins right after Kyle as their tight ends coach. Then he went to the Rams tight ends coach, promoted to passing game coordinator. And then his first OC job is currently with the Vikings, which this is his second year. He was there last year. Now he's there. And again, won a Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021. DC, we know a lot about. Brian Flores. He's awesome. Brooklyn, New York guy, played at BC, was with the Patriots forever and worked his way up from special teams assistant to special teams coach to defensive assistant to safety coach to linebackers coach. And he won several Super Bowls with them. He was there for a decade, a little over a decade. Then he went to Miami as the head coach. That whole lawsuit thing, whatever, got crazy. He was with the Steelers last year, and this is his first year with the Vikings as DC, but he's won 4 Super Bowls.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.